Today's lesson is what you should know about microwave ovens. Hi, everybody. I'm Roger.
And I'm Mike.
And today, as our lessons for the month of October continue, we're going to talk about preparing food. Most of us have microwave ovens in our homes. Do you have a microwave oven at home, Mike?
I do, but I hardly ever use it.
Yeah, we didn't have a microwave oven for a couple of years there.
Oh, really?
We tried to live without it, and you can do it, but for some things, it's just really convenient to have that microwave oven to heat things up. You don't actually want to, cook a full meal with a microwave oven. You don't want like bake a cake in there. It just won't work. But, for some things like heating up leftovers, it can be quite handy.
Absolutely, yeah. Our microwave oven actually is part of a regular oven. It's one of those multi-purpose machines. So I don't use it much, but my wife does because she has slightly different working hours. So often I'll make dinner, put some aside, and then she can use that, like you said, to come home later in the evening and warm up or reheat those leftovers, that extra food, and that's the way she makes sure her dinner is nice and warm.
But, some people are kind of scared of microwave ovens because I guess some information has been circling around for many years. There are these urban legends about microwave ovens that maybe they cause cancer, or that if you cook things in plastic, they can harm your health. And there are other ideas that we're going to talk about in today's program and in our next program, and we're going to tell you whether those things are fact or whether they are a myth. So let's get to it. Let's introduce our topic now with the first paragraph.
What you should know about microwave ovens. Convenience stores use them to heat up ready-made food. Busy households consider them a blessing for last-minute meal preparation. We are, of course, talking about microwave ovens. Still, many worry that microwaves might have ill effects on our health. To learn the truth about microwaves, let's examine a few common concerns.
大家好，第一部分我们看到片语 heat up 表示加热点点点或是使点点点变暖。举例来说 I have some delicious leftover pasta I need to heat up. 我有一些好吃的意大利面剩菜需要加热。或是 On cold days, it takes a long time for the car to heat up. 汽车在冷天里需要较久的暖车时间。另外，除了上面的意思，这个片语还可以表示使某情况白热化。例如 Competition is heating up in the online video business. 网络影片的商业竞争正如火如荼的展开。再来，我们看到名词 blessing 指福祉、好事或是幸事。例如 It was a blessing that rain came to the region after nearly a month of very dry weather. 在将近1个月的干旱后，下雨对这个地区而言是件好事。另外，以下补充几个包含 blessing 的相关片语。第一是 count your blessings， 表示感到庆幸。Blessings 在这里横为复数形，我们可以说 You should count your blessings that dog didn't bite you. 你应该庆幸没被那只狗咬到。第二 give one's blessing to 加名词表示同意、赞成或是准允。举例来说 Denise's parents gave their blessing to her to study in England. Denise 的父母同意她去英国念书。第三 a blessing in disguise表示因祸得福，像是 Getting laid off from her job was a blessing in disguise when Agnes was hired by a larger company for more pay. 被解雇对 Agnes 来说是因祸得福，因为她被更大的公司雇用，薪水还更多。
Okay, so we're going to tell you what you should know about microwave ovens, or 微波炉, as you call them in Chinese. And yes, we've got some information that we'd like to share with you today.
That's right. So let's have a look at the article, which begins by telling us a little bit things that we probably know already. It says convenience stores use them to heat up ready-made food. Absolutely. Your local 7-Eleven or Family Mart or any other convenience store will have a microwave in there. I think often the people who work in the store might operate it for you, but they use them to heat up ready-made food. One of the great things that microwaves are very, very convenient for. Ready-made food is also maybe called pre-made food. It's been made before, it's been cooked, and then they let it cool off, they package it up, and then send it off to a store. So think of those dumplings or the sandwiches or things like that you can buy, cold or just sitting on the shelf in the convenience store, and then you heat them up using the microwave. To heat up something is to make it warmer, okay? You might heat up your coffee in the microwave. If you poured a cup of coffee, it got cold. If you don't like to drink something cold or eat something cold, you might heat it up, or we could actually say reheat the food or the drink to make it warm or a higher temperature again. So that's one place we find microwave ovens, and it says busy households consider them a blessing for last-minute meal preparation. Sure, yeah, absolutely. They're convenient in convenience stores and convenient at home or in your household. That's your home where you live with your family or roommates. And if it's a busy household, that means you don't have a lot of extra time to spend hours every day preparing your food. So they're a blessing in busy households for last-minute meal preparation. Again, probably for heating up ready-made food or warming up food that was made earlier. And what's a blessing? It's basically a good thing, a positive thing in your life. Something you might be a little bit lucky to have or fortunate to have, but certainly something that you have in your life that you look at or think about and go, yeah, that makes my life better. That makes my life easier. That makes my life more enjoyable. Everything from a comfortable home to lots of friends to a loving family to good health. These are all blessings that we have in our lives.
Yeah, blessing is often used in religion. You might want to get God's blessing for something that you've prayed for, etc., or you might get a blessing from your pastor in church or something like that. But it doesn't have to be only religious. Again, it can be something that you really appreciate, something that is really great in your life and you should not take for granted. So yes, a lot of people consider microwave ovens a blessing, something that they could not do without, and they use them for last-minute meal preparation. Like your wife, for example, because she has such a busy schedule, she just needs to heat those foods up in the microwave and she's good to go to get back to her job.
That's right.
Now, we are, of course, talking about microwave ovens. Yeah, we did tell you before that was the subject of today's lesson, but of course, we didn't really come out and tell you directly in this particular paragraph. So yes, this is a common way to introduce something like, what is something that you consider a blessing in your life and it helps you with ready-made food? Well, of course, we're talking about microwave ovens. And still, many worry that microwaves might have ill effects on our health. So even though we consider them a blessing in our daily lives, some people worry that they actually will harm us. They have ill effects on our health.
That's right. Ill effects, bad effects, negative effects. They damage our health. So yeah, they are really good. They are really convenient. Still, that's kind of like however, but many people do worry they are not good for our health. So let's learn about that. It says to learn the truth about microwaves, let's examine a few common concerns. So see, these are some of those worries or warnings or dangers that you might have heard. Oh, don't use microwave ovens. They will ... They will do something bad to you. Will they? Won't they? We're going to find out. We are going to look at some myths and some facts coming right up in the next part of the article. Myth or fact? Microwaves cause cancer. Myth. Microwaves work by sending electromagnetic radiation into food and exciting its liquid molecules. It's the friction of those molecules that heats the food up. The radiation produced by a microwave is mostly contained in the oven, but even if that weren't the case, the radiation would still be too weak to damage our DNA and thus give us cancer. Standing in front of a microwave is completely safe.
第二部分我们看到单字 friction， 这个字是名词，指摩擦力。 像是 If you rub two sticks together to create friction, you might be able to start a fire. 如果你用2根棒子产生摩擦力，或许你能够升起火。另外，除了上面的意思，这个字还可以指分歧或是不合。举例来说，Analysts are worried that friction between North and South Korea could lead to war. 分析师担心南北韩之间的分歧会导致战争。
Okay, so here's our subtitle here. Myth or fact, microwaves cause cancer. So is it a myth? Is it false? Is it just a story? Or is it true? Is it fact? Microwaves cause cancer. Is that true? Well, the answer here is myth. It's not true. They do not cause cancer. And here's how they work. Microwaves work by sending electromagnetic radiation into food and exciting its liquid molecules. So that's how they work here. We've got microwaves, which are very, very tiny little waves, and they send this electromagnetic radiation into food, and that, of course, excites the molecules in the liquid. So here we've got the word radiate, and that just means to let off energy, basically, in the form of waves. And, you know, when we see the word radiation, sometimes we might think of cosmic radiation or nuclear radiation, and those things are dangerous, and they do cause cancer. So I suppose people see this word and they think radiation, oh, that means microwave ovens cause cancer.
That's right. But we're not talking about nuclear things. We're talking about electromagnetic things. So, you know, some people might even say, oh, don't even look into the microwave when it's working. You'll get that radiation in your face and it will cause cancer. This is totally not the same type of science. This is not like a nuclear power plant or an atomic bomb or something like that. What we're doing here is we're using this radiation, using this heat energy to excite the liquid molecules in the food. By exciting something, we're not saying this is going to be great, this is going to be so exciting. No, we're talking about making them move around, making them shake up themselves, right? So they were moving them around. This is creating heat, and this is all happening on a very small scale in the liquid molecule. So basically all the little bits of liquid inside your food, all the little bits of water and other stuff like that is moving back and forth. It's getting hotter and hotter as it gets excited, as it shakes around. And it's the friction of these molecules that heats the food up. So think of all the tiny little things inside your body or inside the food move around and rub against each other or create this friction. That's sort of the energy that's created, the heat that's created by rubbing things together. That's what makes the food warm up. A simple example of that would be to take your hands and to rub them together really, really hard. And of course, very soon, the palms of your hands, the parts that are rubbing or creating friction, will also warm up. So the same thing is happening inside your food.
Right, so it's just vibrations, basically, that friction of those things moving together. And, of course, we're talking about the friction between those molecules. A molecule, of course, is a combination of two or more atoms. Like H2O is the water molecule, for example. So you've got different molecules in the food that are vibrating with each other. They have friction there, and that heats the food up. And there's no radiation involved. No atom has been split open like a uranium atom, like the atomic bomb. That has not happened. It's just vibrations here. And the radiation produced by a microwave is mostly contained in the oven. But even if that weren't the case, the radiation would still be too weak to damage our DNA and thus give us cancer. So yes, indeed, you do have radiation there, but again, in the form of vibrations. And it's mostly contained inside the oven. It just stays inside the microwave oven. It doesn't really leave the oven. But even if it did get out, even if that weren't the case, even if it weren't true that the radiation was inside the microwave oven only, or if it was the case that the radiation got outside, it's still very weak radiation, and it could not damage our DNA, and therefore it could not give us cancer.
That's absolutely fantastic news. And then it says, standing in front of a microwave is completely safe. Yes, you are not going to get radiation. You're not going to get cancer. In fact, if you go to the dentist or a hospital and get an x-ray of your teeth or inside your body, or even probably go to the beach and spend the day under the sun, you're probably getting more radiation doing either of those things. Flying in an airplane will give you more radiation since you're high up in the atmosphere than anything to do with a microwave oven. So do not worry about that. Well, that's good to know. So that's myth number 1. We're going to read on and have another myth or fact moment coming up next. Myth or fact: microwaving food in plastic containers can harm our health. Fact: avoid microwaving food in plastic containers, since harmful chemicals can leak into the food when the containers are heated. These chemicals have been found to disrupt our hormones and metabolic systems. And tests have shown that even plastics that claim to be microwave safe can contain traces of these chemicals. Use heat-proof glass or ceramic containers instead when microwaving food.
第3部分我们看到名词 hormone 指荷尔蒙或是激素。举例来说 Hormones caused the boy's body to change and his voice to become deeper. 荷尔蒙导致那名男孩的身体改变，嗓音变得低沉。再来我们看到单字 metabolic， 这个字是形容词，指新陈代谢的。例如 The precise metabolic functions of individual people are very hard to measure. 很难测量一个人精确的新陈代谢功能。最后我们看到形容词 ceramic， 意思是陶瓷的。像是 When Marcus knocked into the ceramic bowl, it fell off the table and broke. 当 Marcus 撞到这个陶碗时，他从桌上掉下来摔破了。另外，这个字也可以当名词，指陶瓷制品。当此一时常用复数形。举例来说 This store sells paintings and ceramics. 这家店贩售画作和陶瓷制品。
Okay, let's talk about the third part of our lesson, and we've got a question here. Is microwaving food in plastic containers harmful to our health? So yeah, the myth or the fact, microwaving food in plastic containers can harm our health. Is it true or is it false? So, of course, when we use the microwave, we have various words for that. You can heat things up in the microwave or you can microwave them. We use that as a verb there. So if you microwave food in plastic containers, can it harm our health? That's a good question here. Of course, when you buy containers to heat food up in the microwave, you always need to look for that little sticker, is it microwave safe? And of course, you want to look for that sticker, especially with plastic containers.
That's absolutely right. So here we're not talking about the food, we're talking about what the food is in. And that's basically what a container is. Anything from a bowl to a jar to a can to a glass. These are types of typical containers that we use to store our food, to carry our food around in, to eat our food out of. When you go to the 7-Eleven and buy food or go to the local buffet and get your biendang, your lunch box, they'll give it to you in a container. Now, not all of those containers are safe to put in a microwave. So this is something you should be careful about. It's a fact. Microwaving food in plastic containers can harm our health. It says avoid microwaving food in plastic containers. Avoid it. Stay away from it. Try not to do it since or because harmful chemicals can leak into the food when the containers are heated. Well, it's true. Yeah, you're not just heating up your rice or your soup or whatever in that plastic container. You're also heating up the container itself. And sometimes chemicals from the plastic, and we know that plastic is made of a lot of chemicals and can be harmful. That's why we don't burn plastic or things like that, or plastic in the ocean is very dangerous. It can leak. A little bit of that plastic, or the chemicals in the plastic, can come out and go into the food when the containers are heated. So when you eat that soup or eat that rice, you're also eating some chemicals from the plastic container. And yeah, that's not good for you.
Yeah, leaking here just means some kind of fluid escapes from the container. Like if you don't take good care of your car Oil may leak out of the engine, and eventually the engine will overheat and the car will be useless. So make sure that does not happen. Sometimes you can have water leak inside your house, especially during a typhoon. So yeah, make sure your walls and your ceilings are all watertight. And indeed, some of that some of those chemicals can leak from the plastic container into your food. And these chemicals have been found to disrupt our hormones and metabolic systems. So here we've got the verb to disrupt, which means they kind of get in the way and they cause trouble. If you're a bad kid in school, you might get kicked out for disrupting class.
That's right. And hormones and our metabolic systems. These are important things that we need in our bodies to work well, to keep us healthy. Hormones are basically natural chemicals that our bodies create, and they cause changes in our bodies. They make certain things happen in our bodies in all sorts of complicated ways. One of the most common things you might think of as hormones is when kids go from being children to teenagers to adults. They'll get these new adult hormones in their bodies, so men will start to grow hair on their faces. Women's bodies will change. When women get pregnant, their hormones will change, in order to keep the baby inside them healthy. These kinds of things happen, and they should happen in a kind of natural, healthy way without any interfering or any disruption, I should say, from harmful chemicals, which of course can be bad for us and change our hormones, making us sick. Our metabolic system, well, basically your metabolism, that's what we're talking about here. Metabolic is the adjective form of metabolism. This is how your body breaks down food and takes those chemicals and gives you energy and feeds your body and that kind of thing. So you're basically damaging your body. If you're damaging or disrupting it on a hormone level or a metabolic level, this is on a very basic kind of level. It's not just, I had some bad food, I'll feel sick for an hour or two or for a day or two. No, this is you're kind of damaging the basic parts of your body, right? So this is something you definitely don't want to do. If you do it once, it won't kill you. But if you're constantly doing this over days or months or even years, it can lead to serious problems.
Right, and it goes on here to say, and tests have shown that even plastics that claim to be microwave safe can contain traces of these chemicals.
Wow.
So even though you see the label there that says the plastic is microwave safe, still you gotta watch out because they have little tiny bits of these chemicals. They have traces of those chemicals. A trace is just a small amount of something. So use heat-proof glass or ceramic containers instead when microwaving food. So yeah, just play it safe and don't use those plastic containers. Use the glass ones. Make sure that those are also microwave safe. They got to be heat proof, which means they won't be destroyed if they become too hot. And ceramic, of course, just refers to material that's used in pottery. And that brings us to the end of today's program. It's time now to listen to Henny, our beloved Chinese teacher.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第二部分提到 Microwaves work by sending electromagnetic radiation into food and exciting its liquid molecules. 好，文中的这里 exciting 不是用来形容兴奋的、刺激的哦。这边之所以会用 exciting 是因为前面的介系词 by。那么 by 加上名词或动名词就可以表达透过什么、借由什么，所以它是说 microwaves work by sending 什么什么 and exciting 什么什么，这是表达说微波炉呢是借由传送什么东西啊，还有刺激什么东西来运作的。好，那动词 excite 在这里就是指刺激、引起。好，那我们再来看到文中用到单字 molecule， 它是指分子。我们来拆解它的字根 mole。这个字当单字，它可以表达痣，也就是长在脸上的、身上的那种黑痣，也可以用来指内奸啊，或者是长期潜伏的间谍。不过在 molecule 这个字当中呢，字根 mole 它表示质量，那么字尾 cule 表示小。 合在一起 molecule 就是指分子。好，那么补充一下，其实刚刚说的这个 cule 这个字尾呢，是 cle 的变形，那它们都是用来描述小的名词字尾，像在 particle 这个字当中 part part 表示部分或是一点，那么字尾 cle 表示小，合在一起 particle 就可以表达颗粒粒子。那么课文接着提到说，微波炉产生的辐射大多保留在炉子内，但就算不是那样，它的辐射量也过于微小，而不会对我们的 DNA 造成伤害，进而致癌。文中是用到 even if that weren't the case 来表达就算不是那样。那么 even if 它是表达即使就算或是纵然怎么样怎么样，它可以用来引导条件或是假设的情况，强调说不管情况是否成立都不会影响到结果。那么课文里面的 even if 后面接的子句是一个假设情况，假设不是像前面说的那样，假设微波炉产生的辐射并非大多都保留在炉内，那即便如此也不会影响到结果。由于这个假设是跟事实相反的，所以 even if 后面的子句 that weren't the case 它的 be 动词就是用 were 而不是用 is。好，那我们再要补充的重点是说 be 动词搭配 the case 是用来表达是这样没错，那么加上了否定字词 be not the case 就表达并非如此，不是这么一回事了。举例来说 Pam thinks we don't like her but that's not the case。 Pam 以为我们不喜欢她，但并不是这么一回事，事实并非如此。好，以上是今天重点整理，我们回顾今天单字吧。
Blessing. Owning a pet can be a real blessing for people in their old age. Radiation. The sun's radiation can be harmful to a person's skin. Molecule. Water molecules arrange themselves in a fixed pattern in ice. Container. Paula put the fried rice in a glass container and waited for it to cool. Disrupt. This chemical can disrupt the normal functioning of human cells. Hormone. When a woman becomes pregnant, the levels of hormones in her body change. Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Mike.
I am Roger. See you next time.